this is a question really, I guess, for us manufacturers sitting around the table. Generally, how a manufacturer is improving multi-sensors. What's the latest development in multi-sensors, taking into all consideration of all the points we've just raised? Where is the product going? Do we see?
I think Hochiki have already taken some great steps on that path, Paul, is the honest truth, with the advent of the ACDE, which is, we touched on it earlier, approvals being a very important part of design, and it's a device approved to 24 modes, which is groundbreaking, I think. You've got the inclusion of not just optical and heat, but CO, and importantly COHB, which is toxicity poisoning. So it's not just looking for CO in the conventional sense from a slow smouldering fire, but it's also capable of picking up toxicity poisoning over a period of time and raising an alert. And you can use the RFA function on it, the reduced false alarm function on it, to counter all the things that we've spoke about today. It's a phenomenal device, and using Will's phrase, a great tool on the belt for designers and installers if they understand the product, use it in the right fashion on the right systems. It's I think it's something that end users are going to be looking at really proactively going forwards to manage false alarms and to make sure they've got coverage for all eventualities of fire. In certain sectors, I'm talking student accommodation just for example, it's I think it's the must-go-to product.
Do we think though there's a danger that we're developing these more and more sophisticated devices, but that we just talked about training and about keeping people informed? We're creating these more and more complicated devices, and we're maybe not, the training is not keeping up, and we're getting a gap between the sophistication of the device and the sophistication of the engineer, if you like.
I think the answers from my perspective is reasonably simple, that if you're using the right people to install and the right people to maintain them, there's not a gap, because certainly from an Hochiki perspective, we make sure that I look after the systems partners. The systems partners are trained to the highest level, we're kept up abreast of technology. It's part of the criteria to be a systems partner, and therefore you shouldn't have that peak and trough in knowledge. As in all, you get your car. If you're getting your car maintained by someone who's a backstreet garage and he's not, an accredited specialist on your car, you're probably asking for trouble, is the honest truth. If I can use that as a very simple, basic explanation, I don't think there's a gap of industry knowledge in the right companies. I think there's a gap of industry knowledge because there's companies out there dealing in fire who are not really specialists in fire. Is my take on it.
Terry, can I ask you a question, Terry? Do you feel supported generally? I'm not just talking about Hochiki, but generally from manufacturers. Do you feel supported when they're bringing out new products? Do you feel that they're giving you that support knowledge?
Yeah, definitely. The information is sent through. It's varying various levels with regards to which supplier sends which information. We do have some suppliers, unfortunately, who just send a flyer. They just send a data sheet, whereas that gives you a gist of what's happening. It would be better to physically sit down with them or team meeting with them and to go a little bit more in depth. But generally, yes, the manufacturers out there do provide adequate information.
That's good to hear.
It all comes down to, I'm afraid I'm going to use the C word, competence. And if we look in 5839, a competent person, person with the relevant current training, and relevant and current is important. Have you been trained by your manufacturer on how their multi-sensors are worked, how they are programmed? They have experience. Experience is in the definition of competent person. Access to the correct tools, which brings us straight back to maintenance. Do you have the right tester to test the multi-sensors? and are you capable of carrying out the defined task? It's all in the definition of competent person under 5839. The FIA do an awful lot of training on the standards. What we can't do is, because there are so many different manufacturers out there, is do product training. And it's down to the individual manufacturers to train people how their product works. Some manufacturers are better at it than others. And like I said, when I said previously, the closer you are to a manufacturer and the closer that relationship is, the better it goes forward. And I think Hochiki do very close relationships with their installers.
I'd also like to bring up that all the points that you've just raised there, Will, are all part of our audit when we're as an accredited company. And there just seems to be too many companies out there that do not have any form of accreditation specifically for fire.
Terry, which accreditation are you referring to?
We're accredited to BAFE, but to all elements of SPE 203, which gives us a clear definition. It's a well-written document. It lets you know exactly what you need for as a company, and then all the different elements of that accreditation, plus obviously the actual audits themselves. So
going back to the partner network, it's one of the criteria that we set that you need to meet these benchmarks to be on board, and I think it's a good measuring stick.
Yeah,
I think SP203 is great. I was working the companies I worked for previously. I actually managed to get both of the companies certificated to SP203 before I left them to come here. But the feedback from certainly some of my customers now is that SP203, yes, it's a demonstration of competence. It's a great tool. It's a great tool. But the intention of SP203 when it was launched was to give the fire industry some leverage, some regulation. But some of the feedback I've received from my customers just recently is that actually isn't really happening like it should be. Well, I don't know whether you might be able to say something here as to whether, like insurers, are insurers requiring it now? I mean, we see the occasional specifications that ask for SP203, but that tends to be only for the maintenance side. Very seldom for the other modules that Terry mentioned just now.
I would disagree with you there. Almost every tender we now receive or specification clearly states you need to be LPS 1014 or SP203.
Okay.
I can't recall a tender of a significant size where it doesn't ask for those minimum requirements. And also on the SP203, it does ask for all elements, because at a time we were losing a lot of work to a certain company because they were BAFE approved, but when we actually looked into it, they were only approved for maintenance.
Right.
But so it's clarifying that situation. But on the larger projects, it is definitely something that's written in there and has to be adhered to, because at the tender stage, they need to see a copy of your certification.
But with the larger projects and the tenders, the larger tenders, we are seeing it more and more that is BAFE all elements or LPS 1014. The FIA are strong supporters of third-party certification. It's a criteria for membership, and we even have a system to help companies obtain third-party certification if they wish to become members. So we are a big supporter of BAFE and LPS 1014. BAFE do an okay job of pushing the third-party certification to the specifiers. We find some insurers are interested, some aren't, and it's down to the individual insurers companies. But trying to get that message out there, we have a video on our website about third-party certification as well, and we push it quite strongly.